There we go. Now, again, thank you everybody for being here. I really, really do appreciate it. And I'm seeing some faces that I know. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm seeing some faces that I don't recognize as well. So thank you for being here. And this is great. So I am going to begin with just simply telling you a little bit about me. I'm not going to go into masses and masses of details, but I will give you a little bit of a run through as to why I do what I do now, and in a sense, how I got there. I was a radiographer within the NHS and I worked in a local hospital, not too far from where I live. And then kids came along, and it was that sort of juggle of kids and work and all that sort of a thing. And like I think a lot of mums, if they can, and if they have the opportunity to be able to either work for themselves so they can juggle kids and work a little bit easier. But I think a lot of us that do that find it's maybe not as easy as we thought, but hey. Or we kind of go, right, okay, let's take some time out and enjoy the kids. And I had the ability to do that. I took some time out from the NHS and was basically going to go back to work as a radiographer when the kids were at school. That didn't pan out that way. A whole kind of different story, which I'm not going to bore you with, I should maybe say. So fast forward to the kids going to school. It was like, right, okay, what am I going to do with my time? I'm not a one for sitting around on me hands, doing nothing. And I wanted to sort of contribute to the bills around the house and all that sort of a thing. So, probably like many others out there, I decided, what can I do to set up my own business? So, if I just reverse a moment or two here, I was first, or shall I rephrase this? Mental health first came into our household when Gary, my partner, began with panic attacks. And they literally began in the middle of the night. They came completely out of nowhere. We had no inkling that, well, they were going to join our household, as awful as that sounds. He came downstairs in the middle of the night. We had two lads. Well, we still do. They're teens now, but at the time they were small and they didn't sleep. Little beggars. So I was downstairs getting one of them off to sleep, and he came downstairs and basically he thought he was having an asthma attack. So he jumps in his van, takes himself off to the local sort of minor injuries and got checked over and was basically told he'd had a panic attack. So fast forward again to when the kids go back to school. I'm like, oh, what can I do with my time? Oh, I'll become a hypnotherapist. Gary had gone to see a hypnotherapist and the panic attacks disappeared within, oh, maybe 4, maybe 5 sessions. Oh, I could do that. I could work around the kids. Fantastic. Brilliant. And also I can help Gary along the way with it because after the panic, he began with looking back now what we know as generalized anxiety disorder. So this would be great. I've got a business. I can fix Gary. Woohoo! Yay! Fantastic. That didn't work out that way. Yes, I became a therapist. Yes, I started to work with people, but the helping Gary bit, that didn't sort of pan out the way we hoped. Working with people that you're very close to isn't very easy. And I will probably appreciate you guys on the calls if you had to work with your partners. You might go, in whatever world you're in, maybe not. Send them off to go and see somebody else. And that's pretty much what we did. But fast forward a bit further down the line, yes, I'm a hypnotherapist. I did some other training in some other areas. I've done something called BWRT, I've done NLP, I've done EFT, I've done a lot of bits and bobs. Fast forward a little bit further to a bit more recent years, I have started to help small business owners. I've worked a lot with anxiety, panic, fears, phobias. I still do work with those areas, but something I've noticed, and even myself, that as small business owners, we can get ourselves stuck in the kind of day to day, week to week, month to month, even year to year grind of running a business. And we can lose that spark, that energy of why we did it in the first place. I did it for flexibility around the kids. That was my ultimate goal, to be able to be around for them when they were little. Sorry, I just had a paranoid moment. No, it's fine. Sorry, I had a paranoid moment. I'd forgotten to press record, but it's okay. I have. We're fine. So yes, again, worked with a lot of panic attacks, fears, phobias. That was why I ended up in this world with Gary's panic and anxiety, but also what I found I was just naturally attracting. And as I said, fast forward to my own business and realizing that I was doing a bit of rinse and repeat. I was getting to kind of the beginning of the year going, yeah, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do the other. And then reflecting back and go, hang on a minute, I thought that last year. And I'm in a very similar position to where I was. So, hence doing something about that. And hence getting myself into a position where I can stop doing that rinse and repeat around things. And I want to grow. I want to get further on. I want to be able to, as basic as it is, I want to be able to earn more money. And I want to be able to use my time better. That's not very English, but I think you know what I'm kind of getting at around it. So fast forward to, as I said, where I am now, and I'm going to just jump in and share my screen, and all being well, this will behave itself and work nicely. Now, my hope is that you can all see this. Now, with sharing my screen, the chat box and you guys all disappear, which is fine. I'm not going to worry about that. We'll not worry. We'll just crack on. That's okay. If you have, I can see some of you. So if you do have a question, feel free to put your hand up or give me a wave. And if I see it, I will stop and answer question. If not, pop it in the chat box. If something comes up, which you might be able to see it, pop it in the chat box. And if I see it straight away, I will. If not, I'll come back to it at some point somewhere along the way with this. So what do I do now? I help small business owners to get out of the yuck that is keeping them stuck, to feel calm, resilient in your business, and actually get back in the driving seat. To be in that driving seat of moving your business forward the way that you want it to, so that you're not stuck kind of in that rinse and repeat yuck. A really amazing friend of mine, she's called Wendy, and she talks about getting stuck in the wax of the business rather than actually being in the flame, which is where the energy is, which is where we really want to be, which is probably where our passion is as well. And just have a think for a moment for me, and feel free to share in the chat box if you wish. What what do you think keeps you stuck in that? Oh, Helen, you're currently a large rectangle over the slide, so we can't see it all. Thank you for that, Margaret. I will see if I can tweak that. Pin yourself, otherwise you are. Thank you, Rebecca. Let me see what I can do. Right, if I do that. Is that better, people? Give me your thumbs. No, that's not better. I'm gonna stop sharing because I think I know what I did before when I was messing about with it. Let me see if I. Yeah, I know what I did. I hit the other one. Let's share again. Better? Worse? Thumbs up. Yay, yay. Thank you so much for that, people. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because there's nothing worse than watching half a blinking presentation because someone's head's in the way. So thank you so much for that. So yes, coming back to, as I said, what are the sort of things that are keeping you stuck in the wax of your business rather than being really there in your kind of area of expertise, whatever it is you do? What stops you from being there in the real passion part of your business? Now, it could be as simple as things like admin. It could be doing the social media kind of bits and bobs. It could be that there's stuff going on outside of life that stops you from, sorry, outside of business, apologies, that stops you from kind of being exactly where you want to be in your business. Again, feel free to share in the chat box if you wish, but you don't obviously have to. So, as I was saying, I think the chat box has disappeared completely now, but hey, never mind. So yeah, what keeps you stuck in your business? So we're talking about, or what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to mention here is, if I don't have a quick slap, is, did you know 80% of disease is linked to stress? Now, I will add in here, not all stress is bad. Not all stress is bad. Now, you think about that little bit of stress in the morning that gets you up and out of bed at, 7:30, for example, because you've got to get this, that, and the other done, whether it's kids to school, whether it's get yourself to work, whether it's be on a call for X amount of time, for X time, whatever it kind of might be. But what is it? But some stresses absolutely are essential. They're essential to keep us moving forward. They're essential. And there is actually what they call a bell curve of stress. And the bell curve of stress, the optimum stress is actually the top of that curve. One end of it is boredom. The other end is what I would refer to sort of chronic stress or real extreme sort of stress. But again, where we like to be is in that curve that's at the top. And that's the stress, as I said, that sort of motivates us, that keeps us going, that gets us moving in the right direction, so to speak. So, sorry, I'm just adjusting the chat box. It was in front of me and I didn't want it. So, yeah, just imagine for a moment what that stress is doing to you, whether it's chronic stress, whether it's just a bit of extra yucky stress that's going on in that moment. When you're aware of the fact that 80% of disease is linked to stress, what's that stress doing to your mind, to your body? What's it doing to your business? How is that stress keeping you stuck in the wax of your business rather than being there in the flame, that real energy, that real passion of where you want to be and what you want to be doing? So, as I mentioned, there is a level of stress that we need that keeps us going and keeps us doing our stuff. When stress gets too much or becomes chronic, that is when that stress takes over our brain. And when stress takes over our brain, where we end up in is the fight and the flight response. So, this is not a great place to be in. But just before I kind of come back to the fight and flight, does anybody have any idea what the other two are? We've got fight, flight, and we've got, if you have, pop it in the chat box and I will do my best to remember to answer that question nearer the end. And hopefully someone will pop something in the chat box that will remind me. But the fight or the flight, it's obvious. Fight is that get up and fight somebody or something. Flight is that run for the hills, get me out of here. I don't want to be in this situation. And it doesn't matter which one it is. When that mode takes over, what we end up in a chronic version of it, is burnout. This is working 24/7, not doing what you want to do, not spending any time having any fun or doing any interesting things. This is burnout. Burnout isn't where we want to be. Burnout definitely isn't giving you the energy that you need to grow your business in the way that you want to grow it. And I'm going to just, while I pause for a second, I have a burnout PDF and I'm just going to pop it in the chat. Feel free to grab it if you wish. I'll make sure it's also in. Oh, hang on, I don't want to send that directly to you. I want to send to everyone. I'll make sure it's in the email that goes out as well. But the reason I'm popping that in there, because I found it quite interesting when I was looking into burnout a wee bit more, because there's actually 5 stages of burnout. And I'm not going to go into them now, but that's what the PDF does. But the latter half of it is habitual burnout. And this will take me into a moment in what I'm going to talk about around habits. But sorry, just coming back to burnout for a moment here. When you're in this mode here, where everything has got far too much, and you really are not coping, stress levels through the roof, everything's going a bit yucky and not heading the way you want it to do, it stops this part of your brain. Now, to me, this part of your brain is your creative part of your brain. And when I say creative, I'm not sort of necessarily talking about creating social media images, for example, but hey, it absolutely might be. What I'm talking about is that part of your brain that allows you to really think outside the box. That part of your brain that kind of those wonderful, amazing ideas come. And just take a moment for me. Just think about the last fantastic idea you had, whether you actually followed through with it or not, it doesn't matter. But the last fantastic idea you had, my thoughts are you definitely were probably sat at a computer going, oh my God, this is terrible. I can't cope. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You were probably in a situation where you may have been out for a walk, you may have been in the shower, or you may have been doing some mundane task like the hoovering, for example. That's when we are able to get into our more creative brain. And we actually need that part of our brain. We need it to move forward. Because if we're just stuck in this, we don't get this. We don't get the colours. We don't get the ideas. We don't get the energy kind of around it. And again, this is really not where we want to be in. This is exactly where we want to be. And I guess I mentioned a moment ago, I was going to talk about habits. And I love this little image here, this little video that I've put there, because that is representing neural pathways in our brain. And one of the reasons that I like that image, little video, is because it shows, in a sense, represents what's happening, what's going on. The lights that is going down and round all those neural pathways. That's what is going on in our brain all the time. And habits. So when a lot of people talk about habits, they think about bad habits. To me, there isn't a bad habit. Habit, no, I should rephrase that, sorry. To me, the brain doesn't have a good or a bad habit. As I've popped there, it doesn't do good or bad. It just does, this is what I do in this situation. And again, it's the habit of staying stuck in the yuck of your business, staying stuck doing the same thing on rinse and repeat because your brain wants to keep you safe. So it goes, okay, what you're doing is working. You're covering your bills. Everything's going okay. Yay, just stay where you are. But the problem is, you've got this other part of you that goes, no, no, no. I want to be able to afford this, to afford that. I want to be able to have the time off. I want to have that flexibility. I want to have the business that I want. And I want it to go my way. And I want to be in the driving seat of it. I don't want it to be driving me. So again, habits. So habits. Habits, we have loads of habits. Your day is filled with habits. And the reason your day is filled with habits is because that reduces, in a sense, brain energy. So if you don't have to think about everything that you do, it just becomes automatic. Again, you're not using as much energy. You're not using as much energy in your brain. So if you, put it very simply, if you go back to when you were a toddler, I don't remember, but hey, you might, and learning to walk, it was a very difficult thing. It was hard work, putting one foot in front of the other. That was hard work. Now, you probably just stand up and walk and don't even think anything of it because it's become a habit. It's something we don't have to think about. It's something that we just do. And there'll be certain things in your world that you just do. But what I want you to be aware of, what are the habits that you're doing that actually aren't helping you move forward? What are the habits that are keeping you stuck? It could be simple things like not putting your phone on silent when you're doing things, so that you don't have that ping 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 of oh what was that, oh what was that, because every time you do that you're losing minutes, and you think oh it only takes me a moment to get back into it, but you every time that all stacks up. Time is precious. Time is really, really important to us. So be aware of what the habits are and what's going on in your world. Now, brain plasticity. I'm going to come back to that in just a second because there's just a couple of, I made a slide of this to remind myself because I did some research around this the other day and I wasn't sure it was going to stick in my head. So I've also got it written down here. Dr. Maxwell Maltz, plastic surgeon back in the 1950s. And he, again, plastic surgeon, so he was doing some really big operations. He was changing people's features. He was in some situations removing limbs. And what he found out was that it took 21 days, at least, for people to be, what's the word, used to their new way of looking or being. And that became a big thing. And there's a lot of people, I believe, now still talk about the 21 days to build a habit. However, there's other research being done. And Philippa Lally, she was health psychology research, rephrase that, she did some health psychology research at the University College of London. And I'm looking down because, as I said, I've got my notes here. And it was 96 people over 12 weeks. So this was more of a more of a proper experiment. And what basically came of that was an average of 66 days. Now, that doesn't matter if you're forming a new habit or trying to remove an old habit. It doesn't matter. Habits, again, they're not seen as good or bad to the brain. It's just what I do and how I respond. So whether you're trying to put something in there or whether you're trying to take something out, it still is 66 days. And I will talk about how I can speed that process up at the end of this. I forgot to say at the very beginning, I am going to tell you about my resilience program. It's a group program. If you want to learn more about it, there is a link within the chat box up at the top. Feel free to book a call and we can we can have a chat about it. But again, I'm going to tell you more about that at the end of the webinar. So as I've put there, and I've already said, what other habits do you need to break or create? Because whatever they are, it's not going to happen overnight. And there are things that you can do, things like habit stacking. You may or may not have come across habit stacking. It's very simple. Habit stacking is quite simply, if you already do something, you attach a habit onto that. And a very simplistic one that I kind of say to people sometimes is when you're cleaning your teeth, if you've got a nice lipstick maybe or eyebrow pencil, and you've got a nice little affirmation that you would like to say to yourself every morning and every night, write it on the mirror. So as you're cleaning your teeth, you see it. So stacking habits together is a much quicker way of getting you moving forward to where you want to get to. But something else I would say is keep things simple. Don't try and do too much all at once because you'll just end up overwhelming yourself. Start with the smaller things and allow them to grow. I'm just going to check in on a chat box just to make sure there was nothing going on. Fabulous. So, as I said, mentioned habits. Now, this is what kind of interested me. Now, as I've written there, future self, we struggle to see or connect with our future self. And I like that image there that I've put on the screen because that image there to me is quite helpful because it's kind of misty and murky. And I think this is in a sense the way our brain sees our future. It doesn't we don't connect with our future self. Now I'm going to take this a step further and tell you a bit more around that. Functioning MRI scanners. Now, a functioning MRI scanner is quite simply a scanner that you can put people in and you can see the body doing whatever it is the body is doing. So what they did is they did some experiments around imaging the brain. And again, put people in these function MRI scanners. And what they did, they asked them 3 questions. The first one they asked them was, no, I'll rephrase that. It wasn't a question, what they asked them to do. The first one was they asked them to imagine themselves. Certain parts of the brain lit up. Then they asked them to imagine a stranger. Different parts of the brain lit up. Then they asked themselves to imagine themselves in the future. Stranger brain lit up. Now, unless you've done any work around this already, that is exactly what's going to happen in the majority of people. Because as I said, we struggle to see ourselves in the future. Yes, there's obviously things we can do. There's things we can help ourselves. Things like vision boards, things like journaling, all that sort of thing. And doing long-term goals, but actually taking the time to see yourself in that. So let's say, for example, be really simplistic. Let's say a long-term goal is to, well, one of my goals is to go and see the orangutans. And I'd like to go and see the orangutans one day. I don't know why, I just would. But hey, so if I want that and I want to do that, then what I need to do is see myself there. Imagine myself there. Imagine myself doing it. Because when you imagine something, the brain struggles to distinguish between imagination and fact. Now, again, take this a step further, coming back to the functioning MRI scanners. If I was to put you in a scanner, in one of these scanners, and I was to ask you a simple question of, imagine cleaning your teeth. What actually happens is the part of your brain that is responsible for cleaning your teeth lights up. So it proves that we struggle with imagination. We struggle to distinguish between imagination and fact. This is what pulls us into films. This is what pulls us into dramas. Because I say to people that emotional brain of ours is in it, is part of it, is experiencing it. And again, how we get pulled into dramas. So it makes sure that we come back either the following week in the olden days or that we continue to watch all of that box set, even if it is 3 o'clock in the morning kind of a thing. So yeah, our brain, as I said, it struggles to see us in the future, but it also struggles with imagination and realizing whether that is an imagination or whether it's fact. So again, it's about, in a sense, tricking that brain. So if you're seeing yourself in your future and that goal, whatever it is, you're starting to connect those neural pathways, in a sense, to your future. And this is part and parcel of what I can do to help you to kind of get yourself moving forward in the most amazing way for you. Yes, again, there is sort of things you can do, vision boards, journaling, imagination, bits and bobs. It's all that you can do, absolutely. But all these things can take time. And what I do is help people to speed it up so that they can have it, in a sense, now, not in the future. Okay, next slide coming up. So this is me moving on now to tell you about my resilience program. And it is a group program. It is offered one-to-one as well, but it's offered as a group. Now, I've got 3 columns there because there's 3 steps to it. The first step is all about creating calm. It's all about detaching you for the uncomfortable yuck that's keeping you stuck. And that's whatever it is for you. Whether it's stress, whether it's anxiety, whether it's worry, it could be money mindset bits and bobs going on, whatever it is that is kind of keeping you stuck. And I say it's cutting the elastic bands that keep pulling you back. And that's the part of it. Once you've cut those elastic bands that keep pulling you back, you can then move forward so much easier. So that's the first part. Step 2 is all about confidence. Now, there is a difference between confidence, self-worth, and self-esteem. Confidence is learnt. And if I just use a very quick example of the very first job you had, let's say, for example, it was in a cafe and you were just doing some waiting on work. The first time you walked through the door for that first shift, you'd have probably been like, oh, how's it going to be? What's it going to do? I don't know what I need to do. I don't know where I need to be. I don't know what the people are about. By the end of your first week, you're knowing things a bit more and your confidence is growing a bit. By the end of the first month, you're probably absolutely au fait with everything is. By the end of that first year, you do that job with your eyes closed. You know it inside out. Your confidence grows over time. And then we've got self-esteem. Self-esteem basically comes from those around us. And the example I often give with self-esteem, and I hope this sort of works, resonates with me, but I'm not sure if it will resonate with you as well. But I often take maths. Bear with me for a moment here. So throughout school life, I was told that I was, just average at maths, just average at maths. I did all right, but, just average. And I've kind of taken that through life now. And I still sometimes say I'm no good at maths. But the problem is I am actually absolutely fine at maths. The level of maths that I need to be at is fine. But because I was told for a lot of years that I was just average, not very good at maths, couldn't really do the sort of more high-end stuff, my thoughts and beliefs around that is that I'm no good at maths. And that's that sort of self-esteem message that we get from people around us. And it doesn't matter what it is, but that's what we kind of end up carrying through with us. Then we've got self-worth. To me, this is the important one. When your self-worth is absolutely solid, to me, your confidence and self-esteem never drops below that. It's always at that level. So no matter what's happening, what's going on, your self-worth is always solid. And when your self-worth is always solid, it's a lot easier to take the confidence from that situation there and use it over here. And it might not be as much or as big or as energetic as that confidence there, but it's a lot easier to move it to there. And it's less of that drop of going, oh, yeah, I'm confident, but oh, no, 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 don't know about that. That doesn't feel comfortable. That doesn't feel very nice at all. Again, when your self-worth is solid, it doesn't drop below. And it's the same with the self-esteem as well. Never drops below a certain level. It always stays at a positive. And again, it has something to grow from. Confidence, self-worth, self-esteem, when they're all great, life flows easier. And then we've got the resilience bit, which is the future bit that I was talking about a few moments ago. The resilience bit is for me, it's about being the best version of you now. Not when you've got to that point there. Not when you've done this or when you've done that or when you've done the other. It's about being the best version of you right now. And when you're the best version of you right now, you move forward in a much, much more comfortable way. That is about being in the driving seat of your business, not being driven along by it. When we've got lists miles and miles long, we can often feel like we're being driven by something rather than actually getting in the driving seat and moving forward. And this is what this is about as well. It's about, as I've said, it's getting your business where you want it to be. Because to me, that's the most important thing. Getting you feeling around your business the way that you want. And I often say to people, when you feel the way that you want to feel, life's so much easier. And it doesn't matter if big stresses and big yucks come around because you're feeling the way that you want to feel. And then you can deal with it easier. You can access that logical brain much more easier. And it's like coming back to that slide that I had before of that creative slide. When stress, when anxiety, when worry, when panic isn't holding you back and keeping you stuck, that busyness of having to do this, that, and the other all the time, when you're feeling the way that you want to feel, things flow so much easier. And my resilience group program is available to anybody. And as I said, there's a call. In fact, I'll pop the call back in the chat box because where's the chat box gone? Oh, there you are. It might have disappeared up the top, kind of a thing. But where's it at? There you are. Yeah, that's the call. Feel free to book a call with me. The group program is over 12 weeks and it's 997. There I am going to offer payment options as well. So if you kind of go, yeah, I could think about that. Feel free and we can have a discussion around that on the call. In fact, there's the my QR code to it as well for anybody. It's just a kind of 15-minute call. Jump on, any questions, anything you want to discuss, any bits and bobs that you want to know more about. I'll pop a little bit more about it in the email that I will send out with the recording of this. And I'm in something called Circle Networks. And I know there's a few people on the call that are from Circle Networks. And what we do in Circle Networks, we always share some personal things about us. Because when you share personal things about you stick in people's minds a little bit more. And I'll just say that this is apricot jam. Somebody thought it was beans, and I was a real big fan of beans. Hey, I don't mind beans at all. But I do love apricot jam, and I like to make my own apricot jam. That's my two lads down there. I like to do a little bit of drawing, but I'm not good at it. I often mention squirrels because I'm in Cumbria. My office is based in a small town called Penrith, and we still have red squirrels around us. And we even have squirrel rangers that go out and look after them and feed them and make sure that the greys aren't taking over. So I'm going to stop sharing. And if I come out of that, then, wow, oh, aha, that's better. Remove pin. If anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute. If anybody has anything they want me to go back over, maybe I've sort of lost somebody along the way with anything, feel free to please jump in and ask questions. I'm going to actually stop recording because sometimes I'll stop recording.